Content warning. This episode discusses suicide and may be distressing for some listeners. If you need support, call or text 988 in the United States for the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Welcome to Third and Fairfax, the official podcast of the Writers Guild of America West. I'm your host, Brian Gary. Today on the podcast, WGAW West member Andra Whipple is joined by LiUNA Local 724 business representative Alex Aguilar and production assistant and organizing committee member Clio Byrne-Gudding to talk about their campaign to improve wages, enshrine turnaround times, and provide access to union health benefits. Listen and subscribe to Third and Fairfax on Spotify, Apple, or Libsyn, and watch us on the Writers Guild of America West YouTube channel. Here's Andra.
Hi, I'm Andra Whipple. I'm a WGA writer, and I'm here to do the podcast with Alex.
How you doing? I'm Alex Aguilar. I'm the business manager for LiUNA Local 724.
Hell yeah, you are. And Cleo.
Hi, my name is Clio Byrne-Gudding. I'm an organizer for the PA's United campaign through LiUNA Local 724.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about organizing PAs, and we're going to talk about LiUNA. Before we start about the PA campaign, I'm curious, Alex, can you talk about what you do at LiUNA?
So I'm the business manager, the principal officer. I handle, basically everything. Everything stops. The buck stops at my desk. And but
the head honcho, the big guy.
Yeah, but I don't like to. It's a team, right?
Yeah.
We have an executive board just like any other labor organization, and so everything we do is through the board. But at the end of the day, I am the guy. But that's what I do. I've been doing that since 2016. I took over as principal officer.
Sweet.
And I've been a labor for 30 years now.
Congratulations.
It's a long time.
That's a long time.
Goes by really
dedication.
quick. Goes by quick.
Yeah, it does. It does. Local 724. Who does Local 724 represent?
So we're a very diverse union, which I love. We represent billboard workers.
Like the people who put the billboard up?
Yeah, so
okay.
Outfront Media is one of our signatory companies. Those are the only union billboards in town. Everybody else is non-union. So Outfront Media.
The ones that you see it, like on the little thing. I've seen it before.
Yeah, and then the big billboards on the corners where we, they show all your shows and movies that you guys write and all that cool stuff. Those are the folks we represent. We have about 65 of them, 70 of them or so. So we have that. We also represent theme park workers at Universal Studios Hollywood.
Oh, yeah.
And we have about a bargaining unit of like 600 people there. And then we get to the big bulk of our membership is in the motion picture industry. And so we support the pre-production aspect of a feature TV, the construction phase. We also support the studio facilities, all the signatory, all the big studios, Fox, Sony, Paramount, Warner Brothers, Disney, Bradford, all those. We have folks who service the facility, doing pressure washing, moving furniture, landscape, all that stuff. So we're pretty diverse local in what we do. And now PAs.
Yeah, I mean, you guys really kind of cover a lot of the unsung heroes of the whole industry. And so it feels kind of natural for PAs to fall under that umbrella too, because certainly PAs do a lot of the kind of grunt work that we don't always celebrate. Cleo, can you tell us about yourself?
I'm from Providence, Rhode Island, but I moved out here in 2019 to try to become a TV writer, and then quickly did a left turn into wondering why I was non-union. Like I that just started really getting into my head. And as an office PA working next to a writer's room, it kind of made it into more of a sad and bitter sort of like cycle and journey rather than something exciting after a certain point. And the COVID pandemic really exacerbated a lot of those issues as I went on to other jobs and eventually worked on set as a set PA.
I remember I was an office PA before I was a writer, and I remember the same kind of feeling of like really feeling the disparity of like, wow, these people are working union and I can see how it's affecting their life. Like I can see them having good healthcare. I can see them having a pension. I can see them making enough money to like make ends meet. And here I am kind of doing all the work that holds them up.
Right.
And I'm like paycheck to paycheck, really stressing about whether or not I can find health insurance, all that kind of stuff. And so I think that's a really good point that like you're so close to these people who are protected by a union. Of course, you're like, where's mine?
Yeah, it was weird because I still remember. It's like kind of burned into my brain on my first day as an office PA. It was my first ever industry job, and it was on my favorite show. And it was like by sheer luck that I got the job. And I remember my production coordinator like saying, "Okay, the start paperwork is right here. After you fill it out, can you print more copies to replenish the piles?" But there was union deal memos and then non-union, and I was like, which one of those am I? I had no idea even much about unions, and he was like, "Oh, you're non-union," and I was like, "Oh, like why is that?" And he was like, I mean, you know, that's just that it is what it is, a common refrain in the industry, And I was like, well, what does that mean? And he was like, well, PAs don't really need a union. They're like stepping stone jobs. They, you know, the point is it's like, you know, it's supposed to incentivize you to join a union faster, that you kind of are, you know, anyway. But so that
and I think obviously people want to join a union faster. I think almost everyone I know who's a PA, like they want to move up. But we also have this situation where like, it's very hard to move up. A lot of people don't move up for years. And also, while you're doing that job, you still deserve some of the basic dignities that a union can provide, like healthcare, and, you know, well bargained pay and all those kind of things.
Right. Yeah. And it was just a kind of a struggle trying to question that narrative while trying to prove my worth as a production assistant, essentially, and
a job where you're sort of told, don't question anything.
Yeah.
Do whatever you're told.
Yeah. So it was really interesting because there's a lot of like, it does feel magical to start working in the industry, but then you have this like really horrific side of it that is, it's a really weird mix of emotions. And I think working on set really during COVID also just really expedited that conflict of feeling, just feeling enraged all the time, but also kind of totally in love with this industry. And then, you know, being unable to reconcile those things.
Well, because like you were in danger, as was anybody on set, and also there's like you could see SAG, the DGA, the WGA kind of putting their finger on the scale in terms of protections for their employees, and no one was doing that for you.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that was a part of it too. It was, I think being on set especially can bring out the best in people, but in terms of their creativity and their drive, but also the worst in people in terms of their basic compassion for others and empathy for others and kind of the ability to look out for others like literal bodies and lives. And feeling constantly like, you know, everyone was being really nice and polite, that they still were fine, you know, with the whole last man situation, cutting in front of you in line because you're non-union. And there's a lot we could say there's nuance to that, but, you know, not questioning why you're standing up all day, not looking out for you in the same way that you're trying to look out for everyone else because it's your job.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Can you talk more? Just, you know, I'm sure there are a few people who are listening to this who don't know a lot about what a PA does. So like, can you talk about kind of what the job duties are broadly? I know it's very different depending on the job, but like.
Yes, I have like a 20-page document that details all the different types of. And so this.
Because there's set PA, there's office PA, there's like.
Yes.
VFX PA, all these different kinds.
Yeah, there's like, you know, just to, you know, like set, office, VFX, camera, there's construction, paperwork PAs in New York that don't exist over here, locations PAs in Texas. There's set deck PAs, art PAs, costume PAs, writers PAs. There's assistants, showrunners assistants, directors assistants, you know, you name it. And then also within, like, say, set PAs, there's all these specialized roles.
Yeah.
So a lot of people think of a set PA as someone who's like saying like, quiet please, and like, running around getting coffee, which is actually something that typically like lockup PAs or additional PAs, day players, are hired to do on the day. But there's all these other specialized positions that require a lot of skill, like key PA, background PA, first team PA, walkie PA, base camp PA, like that do a lot of really intense skilled work that, keep the entire day running.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know, like to summarize the common thread through all these different types of roles is like PAs are kind of the information network, the information highway of their department or the production or the shoot day. They are the sense organs for a department or a movie or a TV show. They are the eyes and ears. They make sure that they are thinking on behalf of others so people can focus on their specialized jobs during the day. And they're doing what needs to be done, doing the hard work of grabbing resources, getting things delivered here, there, everywhere. It's really hard to sum it up. Like, there's also an aspect of it that's not talked about as much, is that PAs do a lot of emotional work and emotional management because the stress of production is real. And a lot of the times people need to vent to others, need to unload, and in very unhealthy ways a lot of the time. And PAs are the kind of the goalies of all of that. They're like the last people to catch all that, and there's nowhere to go with that. You just kind of have to hold it.
Yeah, they're getting screamed at. They're getting shit thrown at them, honestly. Like, there's a lot of bad behavior that we see that is unacceptable. And then there's also kind of just like the dealing with people's frustration, which is just part of a job. But like it's because you're kind of the least powerful person in the room, people will filter that towards you, and it's really intense.
It's fascinating too because people will just tell you things and just assume that you're not really, you're more of just like a sounding board. You're not like a real person listening. So you're like, I have no real power, but in terms of the information that I hear, it's like
tell you things, not just like tell you things about the production. They'll tell you things like really weirdly personal things. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, things that I can't repeat on this podcast, things that I learned as a PA.
Same.
Yeah. It's a really interesting job. And it's a job that you learn a lot. You learn a lot about the whole industry because you're so intimately interfacing with everybody. But it's a hard job, and it's physically hard. Like when I was an office PA, I was like first one in, last one out, and then you turn around, you do it all again the next day.
Yeah.
Right. Like you're working 14, 15-hour days.
Yeah.
The only person maybe who's working longer than you is transpo.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. You're doing a lot of, even the office, you're doing a lot of manual labor, like carrying tables around, chairs, bringing up, bags of crafty for the production kitchen, and
making sure everyone gets their lunch before you get their yours. Like, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we kind of talked about like what made you want to become part of the organizing committee. I think it sounds like it really felt unequal to you.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, it was kind of like, I worked a really big movie that really like physically depleted me. It was like, I was describing earlier, it was like the best job I've had, but the worst job I've had. It was like, that conflict between the intense love for the industry, but also this intense resentment and rage about the class disparities. And I had to leave the industry for like 6 months. I went back home and worked in a liquor store. And I knew the strikes were probably going to come up, the writer's strike. And then, so I decided to move back to LA. And this was after basically taking a lot of time to read labor history and try to sort out these feelings and whether or not I was just being a little baby, essentially, as people will say. And I realized, no, this is a legitimate fight and a tradition that has been a part of this land and a part of the world for forever, fighting for your rights in the workplace, essentially. And so I decided to come back and walk picket lines and get other jobs and survive. And that's where I met other members of the to-be organizing committee, and we with the help of like mentors and allies in the picket line, we got together and we started PAs United in order to try to win a union.
That's really cool. That's really cool. For both of you, major issues facing production assistants. Like, what are some things that you guys would really like to see change?
Well, obviously, I've been doing this for a few years now, and so we get to see, we know what protections, what benefits other unions and guilds receive. So for us, after speaking with them, is obviously, you mentioned working 14, 15 hours a day, no turnaround.
Yeah.
Right? That's dangerous.
Super, especially because a lot of these jobs involve driving, sometimes big trucks. Like, it's dangerous for everyone.
Exactly. And so that's something that's come up. Obviously, a big one is healthcare, especially nowadays with we're starting to notice, and even with within LiUNA, suicide is one of our biggest issues in the construction industry.
Because of the difficulty of the job and the level of...
and then the level of work and being away from your families. But for us, that's a big thing. And we've made it, we've put it at the forefront of things. But that's just LiUNA. But in this industry, we've lost some members to suicide over the last 3-4 years, about 5 members. So that's a big thing. It's a real thing. It's a real issue. And a lot of men struggle with it, and in our industry, in the construction industry, it's predominantly men. There's a lot of Latinos who we are raised in a way like, hey, just put your head down and go to work. Don't say anything. Nobody wants to hear it. Be a man and handle your business. Yeah. And that's what's led to a lot of the things we're currently experiencing with mental health. But to get back on the point of healthcare, mental health care, mental care.
Yeah, being able to go to therapy, being able to go to a psychiatrist, being able to even just go to a doctor and get a note that says this person needs a break.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Sometimes just taking a leave of absence for a week, and these companies are relentless sometimes.
Yeah.
They don't care.
And threatening.
I'm not going to say all of them, because there is those out there that do care about your well-being. But then there's times where the job, we're all in this industry. We've heard it all.
Yeah.
I don't care what you got going on in your life. You need to be here tomorrow, or I'll find somebody to replace you. Yeah. Because there's 50 people waiting in line for your job.
And that's not just this industry. That's America. You know what I mean? Like, the company doesn't care. You're a number to them, not a human being.
And so that was one of the issues that, from talking to the organizing committee and just other PAs, that were like, man, we'd really love to get health care. And obviously wages, they're at minimum wage. I mean, think about that.
Minimum wage in a lot of times in really expensive cities. Yeah.
Yeah, think about that. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
In this industry, to have folks who do what they do and keep this productions going, and they're making minimum wage with no health care, no turnarounds. Another thing we talked about was the fact that a lot of us union members, if we're outside the 30-mile zone and we work past a 12, 13-hour day, you have the option to get a hotel room and stay.
Which is important for safety.
Exactly.
Right? Otherwise, we have this issue in the industry of people driving home too late when they've been working too hard and crashing cars and dying.
They don't have that option.
Yeah.
They don't have a lot of the options and protections that everyone else does on the set. And so, I mean, we can give you a long list of a lot of things, but those are the key points, that the key issues that, healthcare, a wage that they can survive on and actually pay some bills and not have to go work 2 jobs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, it's that. And so we're going to continue to work on a lot of that stuff, but, we're going to make a difference.
Yeah.
And that's the goal of this campaign.
Well, when you think about the wages too, it's so hard in this industry to see the level of high earning that exists and to justify the idea that, like, the extra $5, $7, $10 an hour that would make the difference between a PA living paycheck to paycheck and a PA being able to save for their future, or a PA being able to handle a big medical expense or whatever. Like, it's so hard to justify that amount of money, which is like a pittance, is really, really a thing. Like, I don't know if we want to use this on the podcast, but when I was a PA, I found out that I was the only female PA, and I was getting paid $50 less a week than all of the male PAs. And
wow.
Yeah, and it was really weird. And it was also like that $50 meant so much. It was so small for the production. And it also just meant like it was a dignity problem. Like it just feels awful. And I wound up like confronting the line producer and essentially being like, this is unacceptable. And I had some producers in my corner, and so I got it fixed. But like most people, it was very hard to do that.
Yeah, no, I mean, good for you that's a really brave thing to do, because like you could have lost your job essentially.
Oh, and I knew. I went in, I cried for an hour while I was driving things around that day. I was driving and crying, which is not a good idea, because I had to go and do my job really well, and then go and talk to the only reason I knew that I was being underpaid was because I alphabetized everybody's contracts. There you go. And I could see
information.
I knew, and he was astounded that I knew. And I was like, do you think I don't have eyes?
That's so interesting, because that's something that like that goes into the dignity problem, because it's like people assume that we don't do work that we use our brains for.
Yeah.
And like they're like, oh, well, you don't know what's going on. And I'm like, it's literally my job to know what's going on, because you don't know what's going on. Like I have having access to all the contracts, like everyone's like pay rates and all that stuff. That's literally what the office PAs have access to and have to like look over. We check people. We sign off on people's like I-9s. It's like,
and it's not like a nefarious thing. It's not like I was like trying to find it. It's just like I can't stop my eyes from looking at things I'm looking at in order to alphabetize.
Yeah.
The number of how much they make is right next to their last name. Like.
Right. Yeah. And it's like that also goes into like, you know, the way that, you know, it's kind of an arrogance in how people view PAs, because it's like they think that, you know, we're just kids, or like we're just kind of like doddering around just being like, you know, 22-year-olds and stuff, when it's like there are so many PAs that are actually in their 30s, 40s, 50s, that have children, that have like medical issues, that have disabilities or become disabled throughout working in the industry, or, you know, are in debt. And that's you know, for kind of a larger thing, that the entire reason, like the spirit of this union kind of came from one of our founders, Nalani Rogers, which is to create a more equitable like door to Hollywood, because it's like the people that can survive in this industry and be able to be, try to navigate the wilderness of moving up somehow, are the people who end up surviving. It's like a war of attrition. The people who end up surviving are people who have existing family wealth, property to live in where they don't have to pay rent, or they can afford it, or it's paid for already, and that they already have connections. And so the reason behind getting higher wages and healthcare and having your material needs met is so that we can make this industry like literally more accessible to all different sorts of people who like simply cannot survive, especially in times right now where there's like such a huge lack of work.
We talked about that a lot as writers during the strike, and we were talking about, preserving the ladder. Like for us, that means like not just thinking about what co-EPs make, but also thinking about what staff writers, story editors, et cetera make. But the ladder goes all the way down to PAs. And you're right that like if we want, this is just like a matter of like, if we want media that represents a diverse viewpoint of what it means to be a human being, what it means to be an American, what it means to be a person, which is like the dream, I think, of movies and TV, right? Is that they reflect the world around them. Right. If we want that, which I think also sells better for the companies, like the number of times that they're like, we want a blue collar TV show. It's like, okay, well, you would do better with some blue collar writers. We can't get blue collar writers if we can't have blue collar PAs.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So well put. That's a great way of putting it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't just want to have the people who can enter this industry be the people who have access to independent wealth.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
It's not fair.
No, it's not.
And it's not good. It's not good for the health of the industry. It's not good for the product we're making. Like, if we want to sell TV shows and movies to the general public, we are better off being reflective of the general public.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah, it's nice to have this discussion, because I feel like it's been you're kind of treated as a little bit crazy. At least we were when we were like trying to talk about this with other people in the industry. So
yeah,
and for years, I mean, my father is in the industry, and but we're here to help others, right? To diverse the industry. And you hear, I've had many conversations with folks who are like, oh, why are you helping those guys? Like, why are you helping the PAs? Nobody wants to help them. And these are not, union folks.
Yeah.
They're folks who just, they might be management, there might be other folks who seem to think that exactly what you said. Oh, they're just kids, or they're the producer's kids, or nephew, or neighbor, or whatever. And it's like, no, they're not.
Yeah.
They're not. They're real people looking for real jobs. And just, I mean, I've talked to PAs who have told me, I've been here for, 20 years. And why have you, and I ask, well, what's kept you in it for 20 years? Because I love the job. I love the people.
Yeah.
I love what I do. I love just making things happen, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. It's a great job. And why shouldn't these folks have the ability to make a good livable wage?
Yeah.
Have health care, be treated with respect and dignity, and feel good on the set like everybody else does.
Well, a part of the thing
that's not fair.
It's so
not
important
right.
Because I think also, having been kind of on both sides of that world, it doesn't feel good to be on the other side and know how much the people at the beginning of the ladder are struggling. Like it's very stressful. It makes you feel bad for asking them to do their job, because you know what pressure they're under. And it also, like, I mean, like a constant thing that writers do is like, there's like, at the end of the year, there's like this scramble, like how much money can we pull together on our own as individuals to give these PAs and these assistants as a gift. And like, a gift is great. But on the other hand, the conversation is always like, the gift is completely necessary, because otherwise these people won't be able to make their rent in December. And I would love to be able to just give a gift instead of it being like I have to feel like they're struggling so much, and I know they are, that like I'm always worried about them.
Right.
Like it makes it hard for everyone to do their job, just to be looking around being like, oh my God, is Cleo gonna make her rent this month? Like, that's not a good working environment for anybody.
No.
It's not. And, we work in an industry that we spend so much money on so many things.
Yeah.
Lunches. I mean, I've worked on some big shows when so I've done a lot of Marvel stuff. I've done some features that were huge. And the money that gets spent on some of the talent and where they're put up, and just little things that you think, man, that could all be used for something better. And not to say these folks don't deserve it. Obviously, they're making the movie popular, right, or the show. And so I'm not knocking on that. But what I'm saying is that we can put some resources towards helping other people and bringing them up. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, we should be here helping folks. But it's frustrating.
Yeah.
It's frustrating to learn what they go through.
And we know another version of the world is possible. Like, for instance, there was the movie Sing Sing, where they paid everybody the same amount.
Yes.
And not that every production has to be like that necessarily, but it's possible. They got some really good talent for that movie. It was an excellent movie. And they paid the PA the same as the director, as far as I remember. Like, that's a pretty big equalizing, but like, it's theoretically possible. It's just, it takes will.
Yeah. And when I heard about that, I was really amazed. And,
yeah.
I mean, being experimental.
I think they also did profit sharing for everyone.
Really?
I'm not sure, but I think they did.
Wow. If so, that's amazing.
Really cool if they did that.
Huh. Yeah. I mean, the whole gathering, like y'all like gathering together like money to give as like a gift, but a necessary gift to the PAs. Like, that reminds me of, I don't know if either of you are familiar with the $5 Friday
Absolutely.
tradition.
Mm-hmm.
We always did it.
Yeah.
But explain it for the listeners who don't know what a $5 Friday is.
So I'm not speaking for all set PAs when I say this. I know a lot of set PAs enjoy running the bucket, and it's fun, and they're good at it, and they enjoy it, and it's a great way to interact with the crew throughout the day. I personally really did not like running the $5 Friday bucket because essentially what it is that, every Friday or a Friday once in a blue moon on set, the set PAs will have this bucket, and they'll usually wear it, and it's basically you go around and you're selling little tickets, and people can buy a number of tickets and write down their name or other people's names. A lot of people will put down money for the PAs, essentially.
Yeah, it's taboo. Like if you're a director, like the joke is like if you're a director and you actually write down your own name, it's like, oh, you're an asshole.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And these buckets, like by the end of the day, they can get up to like, a few $100s to a few $1,000s. I've heard like tens of thousands of dollars because sometimes actors match each other and it's becomes a whole thing. And then at the end of the day, like, whoever's kind of the darling of the day, like, will reach into the bucket and pull out the name. And whoever wins, it's also customary to tip out the PAs because the PAs were the ones to run the bucket of the day while trying to do their job and stuff. So I was always a little bit prissy about doing it, but I know a lot of people really enjoy doing it. But I've always thought that's a really strange tradition to have, and it reminds me of that.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine as a fun thing to do. Yeah. What makes it really sad is that it's a necessary thing to do. Yeah. Like if that's the way people want to have fun at work, fine. But the fact that we have to introduce gambling into our workplace in order to ensure that people feel like there is a possibility that they're going to make enough money to pay their basic bills is really ridiculous.
It's also uncomfortable because I would go up to people and say, like, do you want to do this? Do you want
to
gamble?
It's begging. You're like being forced to beg.
But it's also like some people are like, oh no, I'm in recovery from like gambling addiction. And you're like, oh my goodness, I am so sorry. I didn't mean to even enter this space with you. But
but I'm being asked to, and I'm also incentivized to because of how little money I make.
Right, exactly.
Gross.
It's so strange.
Yeah, okay.
Attention Writers Guild members. Get paid faster with direct deposit for residuals. Log into your My WGA account at WGA.org and click on Residuals and Payee Deposits to register. If you need assistance, reach out to online services at WGA.org. If you're enjoying this episode of Third and Fairfax, the official podcast of the Writers Guild of America West, hit that like button, click subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode.
So you talked a little bit about how you guys started this organizing campaign. You talked about like coming onto the picket line for the WGA and SAG strikes and talking to people, but can you say more about how you guys got hooked up with LiUNA, how that all kind of worked?
Yeah, I mean, I can do.
Well, either one of you.
Well, I think we can both touch on this, but for us, there was the strike, the rally.
Oh, that big rally! Like 50 days in, we had LiUNA was there, and a bunch of other unions were there, right?
Yeah, so it was right before we headed into bargaining, the basic crafts.
Yeah.
So we had. What was it called?
It was called Many Crafts, One Fight.
Many Crafts, One Fight.
Yes.
Thank you, Cleo.
Of course.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
And so we had this big rally at Woodley Park on March 3rd or 4th.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where we met. We met there. I spoke to Cleo. I spoke to Ethan, and I think Nalani was there. Maybe I can't remember, but I did speak to a few of them. And that's kind of where we hit it off. We just said, hey, let's set up a meeting. Let's meet after in a couple of weeks. Let's let things settle down. And we started to meet. We had our first meeting. We talked. I asked some questions. They gave me some feedback on the concerns, what they were looking for, what the issues were. And then we just kept meeting on it like that. But, I mean, right? And
yeah.
It was like 6 months of us kind of, I know it was probably frustrating on y'all's end because we were, we weren't sure. We were trying to figure out what it even meant to affiliate, and having been trying to organize on our own for so long. And, we have as PAs, we're so used to people not being interested in us
Yeah.
and not seeing us as worthwhile. And so it like really meant a lot that that LiUNA Local 724 like was so adamant from the beginning and kept answering our questions and kept meeting with us.
And you know, in organizing, you have to be careful, right? And you don't want to be pushy because you know you don't want to.
You're dealing with people's
off.
livelihoods,
Yes,
and people are really
exactly.
stressed, and it's scary.
And you know, you have to be honest as well. That's a big part, right?
Yeah.
And because again, you're right. That's the one thing. It's you're dealing with their lives. Some folks are. This may be the last little piece of hope they're hanging on to. That, hey, this would be great if we, we become union or we affiliate, right? So we had some meetings, and I was always like, hey, whatever you guys want, I'm here when you want to meet. Whatever, right?
Yeah.
I was more at like just giving them their space, their time, and call me when you guys are ready to meet again. So we had several meetings, and there was other unions that were interested in helping them out again as well. But I was just honest with them. That for me, that's a big thing, is just letting them know how we can help and really looking at the reality of what we can attain and possibly get to. And so and this is me, like that's the one thing I keep it real. You know what I mean? Like, this is me. I want to help. I'm here. Let me know.
It seems like a really interesting match because you're talking so much about the idea of people sort of not seeing the value of the work. And I think in terms of the other work that you were kind of talking about, a lot of the work that other LiUNA members do is sort of this unsung work. People don't understand why the keeping the landscaping done at the studio, people don't even notice. Like a lot of times those are jobs where like you never even see people doing them. You just kind of out of sight, out of mind. And so it's interesting. It's an interesting and cool mashup to be like, you represent some of the people who might have been forgotten otherwise.
I mean, the funny part is that some of our members, when they hear them say, first one in, last one out, like that was kind of something we always said. Like we're the first ones on the show, last ones to go. And I'll tell you why, because before, you guys are probably the first ones because you're ready. Sure, because
we have to.
But when we're on set,
exist.
when you go on set, really to report to the studio or wherever we're building, we're the first ones there. We offload all the tools, whether it be the construction crew. It's us and Teamsters.
Yeah.
We're always there. We go pick up tool trailers. We bring them. We set up the mills, the shops. And then at the end of the show, when the show wraps, we strike the sets, throw them in the trash, and we have to leave the stage like we were never there.
Yeah.
And so we literally are, some of the first ones on, last ones out. And the same thing goes on the set. We're there. We open up the stage for construction, turn on lights, turn on generators. We're the last ones to leave. We plug in the scissor lifts, the condors, just to make sure they're charged for the next day. So I always told them this. I said, it's like we're meant to be together. I said, because I really truly feel that way. That a lot of the stuff we do is some of the stuff you said. Like it's grunt work, but no one wanted to do it, and we take pride in doing. What
and
we
without
do.
that work, I mean, I think that's something. One of the things I love about this industry, one of the things I find most beautiful and most interesting about this job. I love to sit at the end of a movie and watch all the credits go by and know that there's even people who aren't in the credits. You know what I mean? Just know that like the labor of making a movie or TV show is thousands of people coming in every day and deciding to make something beautiful that might mean something to somebody. That's such an incredible thing. Like it's such a beautiful, there are so few things in the world like that where it's like, all these people coming together to make this thing, to inspire people, to create this beautiful world. And it takes thousands of people. And that's what makes it so cool.
Yeah.
And makes it something that you literally cannot create it on your own. That's what makes it so cool.
And that is, that's one of the things people ask me, do you miss being out on the field, right? And like working. And I always tell them, I do miss the sense of creating, right? Because you're part of that creative process that you see these sets. I mean, you walk on a stage and it's empty, and then all of a sudden, 2 months later, you have this amazing set, and and people are filming, and then you see it on the big screen, and you're like, wow, I was part of that.
Yeah.
Like, I did something, or I was part of something that is entertaining the world, really, right? Thousands and millions of folks, and so that part is so cool to be a part of this industry. But
that's, I would argue, even the people who work in labor around this industry, right? People like you, your name's not on the credit in the movies, but without you, the people who were doing the work wouldn't necessarily have the same benefits, the same protections, the same pay, the same dignity of work. And so it's also an essential part of the job.
Yeah, no, listen, not to get too deep into my own personal life, but this union's done so much for my family. And my parents were immigrants. My kids are first generation.
Wow.
My wife was born here, but my mother was a housekeeper. My father worked at a car wash.
Yeah.
When he got into this union and he joined, our lives changed. I always talk about that live better, work union sticker, or work, right?
Yeah.
It's like, that's me. Like, that's my life. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I'm not saying it's just me. I'm sure I'm just one of many, if thousands, that have gone through that experience. But that's why I'm passionate about helping them, because it's like, I've seen the benefits. I've lived them.
You know how much it changed your life. I'm the first union member in my family, and it's like, oh, I have a pension. My parents don't have a pension. It's just a wild level of difference in quality of life when you can work union, and so it's really valuable.
Absolutely.
Okay, so this is a nationwide campaign. Obviously, the film industry is like all over. It's not just one workplace, which is maybe how we would think of union organizing traditionally. So how have you adapted all of these organizing techniques to this nationwide? You got PAs in New York, Atlanta, California, New Mexico. How are you doing it?
So I'll touch a little bit on this, but I really want her to dive into this. But with our resources through LiUNA, we're getting help. We have LiUNA has we have over 500 organizers across the country. But more importantly, these folks, like I said, they're incredible. Yeah. They're great. Their heart is in it. They have the energy, and they're doing it. But as far as nationwide, we're going to continue to work on it. It's definitely challenging, but it's not impossible. And I'm going to let Cleo touch on how this all came about, because really it was them. Yeah. I'm not going to take the credit for that.
I mean, it's an interesting question, because there are different ways I can answer it. Like, in terms of how to organize nationally, I mean, honestly, Zoom and Discord and like having social media and having like basically just the internet has completely it's enabled us to work collaboratively across time zones. Like
are there people who are reaching out to you guys, like who are like, oh, I'm a PA in New York, I don't know anybody, I heard about this, can I try and organize with you?
Yes. So essentially, like, that's why we first started the Discord, and now it's like 700, 800 people across the United States in that Discord. We have different channels, and people are like, how's work in like New York? How's work in like New Mexico? What's going on there? Or like any word about like work in Portland and stuff like that, because it's really hard to find work right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what we eventually started doing was asking people to fill out this general survey. And we would blast that on social media, and Ethan Ravens, who's a founder and organizer, he is like really good at social media. So he built up our Instagram page, and now it has like 11,000 followers. And so we we get DMs all the time from people like, being like, how do I get involved? I'm in here, or like, I'm in another country, or like, stuff like that. And so we refer them to our intake survey, and they fill out just like a little bit about themselves, and then that goes to our database, and we give them a call. And we talk to them and we connect them with, if there are organizers in their area that are involved with PAU, then we can connect them to them. And we have been doing these Zoom workshops on the weekends to help orient people that are new to unions and what organizing means, and teaching them not only all of that, but also like here's tried and true methods for how to organize your workplace if you're currently working.
Oh, cool. So like if you're a PA and you want to organize, get in touch.
Yes, because these are teachable skills. It is extra work to organize. Obviously, it's really annoying, but if PAs are working right now, it's really important that if they want to help, that they basically come to these Zoom workshops and get this basic education. And like we have these worker mapping charts that we can share as spreadsheets, which is, again, love that we can just if someone's in New York, we can just share a spreadsheet with them and tell them like how to start mapping their workplace, how to start doing leader ID for people, and keeping track of who's signed cards and all that sort of stuff. It's really, if you're a PA, you're already going to be good at this.
Yeah, you already have the skills.
So, exactly. So that's and we also have, if there are no organizers in certain cities that are like less of film hubs right now, like what we have been doing is encouraging people to start doing meetups. Yeah. And we'll support them through that, and make sure that we help them find a place and blast out on social media. Like, hey, if you're in New Mexico, or like if you're in Houston, this is happening. Come support your fellow PA who's putting this together. So I'm sure there's more I could probably talk about, but like that's how we're doing it nationally.
Yeah.
And we've also we had a rally last weekend, and it was great. It was a great turnout.
Yeah,
and
one of our board members spoke at it, right?
Adam Conover, who's a dear friend, and he did an amazing job. But we had satellite watch parties in Chicago, and in New York, and they were held at our sister LiUNA Locals there, and so that's another big thing that we have support across the country from our own sister unions who have organizers. They have legal counsel. We've made it a point that, hey, we're here, we're going to try to do this. And, to have our sister locals in Chicago and New York just say, hey, use our hall. You can hold your satellite, you can view it here. Mm-hmm. And, not having to rent a place, and just being able to gather there. And I've spoken to those business managers, my counterparts in both locations, and they're like, anything you guys need, Alex, we're here. And so that, along with all the hard work they're putting in and just connecting everything, all our resources, it's gonna make, and it's made a huge difference.
Yeah, well, this story also really speaks to the patience that it takes to organize, how it's a long-term experience, and how much solidarity matters, how much having other people involved, able to offer you material support, and also, emotional is the wrong word, but vocal support, right? Yeah. And that does make me curious how we as Writers Guild members can support PAs right now.
Well, if you know your writers' PAs, and especially if they're working or were recently working, please send them to us. So PAsUnited.com. That's PASUnited.com. And we can do exactly what I mentioned, which is we can teach them the fundamentals of how to organize, and also listen to them and have just a basic organizing conversation, and get them into groups. It's always better working together, especially if writers' PAs know writers' PAs best. So getting folks into kind of a community and having that sense of solidarity. Honestly, that's what I'd say. I mean, being on here today has been an immense show of support from the Writers Guild. So thank you.
Yeah, of course, we got your back, man.
Thank you. And likewise, so any and all writers' PAs. That's what I will say. Like, please send them our way. And if you know any showrunners' assistants or directors' assistants that are, bouncing around the offices and stuff, they are also in the bargaining unit.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And, you guys have been great. I mean, really, from Adam to Ellen to every union and guild has shown support. And, I was at the WGA Awards and, or the Writers Guild Awards, yes. And one of the showrunners, after getting an award, they give a big shout out to the PAs. And I thought that was something that kind of reinforced what we were trying to do. The fact that, here they're getting awards and they weren't just like, hey, thank you to, my wife and so on, which is great, obviously. But the fact that some of these big showrunners said, hey, we want to give a shout out to the PAs, our writers' PAs, because we couldn't do the work without them. That was really, really cool to see because, and I texted Cleo and Ethan while I was there. I'm like, hey, you just got a shout out. So, it shows that I think we're moving in a different direction as far as after the strikes and the solidarity between the unions and guilds. And it's clear, like we're seeing it. We're seeing that we're getting love shown, right? Like people are showing us love and it's important because without that it would be even that much more difficult to get something like this done and accomplish it. So thank you to everyone who's shown us support and to this day,
Yeah. I think sometimes as writers we can forget how much it means to people who are at the assistant level, who a lot of times when I was an assistant, I really wanted that job, right? I really wanted to be a writer. And I think we can forget that like being vocally supportive and being vocally like, I believe in your right to unionize. I think it's important and I support you, can mean so much and can give people that sense of encouragement when they maybe don't feel as powerful in the workplace.
Yeah, definitely. And that's something I was also going to add is start up a conversation. If I know y'all have jobs too and you're busy and stuff, but if there's moments to chat, like asking a writer's PA or an assistant, what their job's like, what they have going on in their life, starting a rapport and expressing curiosity and really trying to understand what exactly their job is. And also, if you have time, observing the dynamics in the workplace because, oftentimes with bosses and such, it's kind of this, I don't know, you kind of feel very alone because you're the only person that is having a hard time in the office, and all these other folks don't notice that you're kind of silently suffering, and everyone is suffering in their own way and also having a good time as well. It's all complex, but that's what I would recommend.
Yeah, take that PA to lunch. I'm saying that direct to camera. Take your PA to lunch now, right now. Text them right now. Exactly. I'm also curious, as we're wrapping up, what are your guys' next steps for this campaign? It sounds like you've done a lot of organizing work to get this started. What's next?
So we're in the process. We have a conference next week in Austin. It's an organizing conference with LiUNA. We have cards signed. We're going to go through those cards. We're going to hope to file here in maybe a month or month and a half, maybe 2 months out, maybe a little sooner than that. It all depends. But we're getting close. And, this being that this is a nationwide campaign, we have to take different steps, right? It's actually pretty cool though, even though it's a lot of work and a lot of stress.
Yeah.
But we're crazy like that, right, Cleo? And so, but we're gonna start moving in a different direction, and obviously, we don't want to.
You don't want to tip your hand, but now would be a good time to sign a card. Is what it sounds like to me.
Yes, that's what I was gonna let Cleo. She can go into that.
Yeah. So essentially, especially if you are currently working as a PA assistant or production secretary on, am I allowed to say the AMPTP or
so any show really?
Okay. Yeah. Any show, any TV show or our motion picture, please sign a card, especially if you're working right now or have worked since 2024. That's the strongest window we have. And even if it's been one day, the idea is we're casting a very wide net. And yeah, I don't know why I just started looking at the camera, but
that's okay. That's okay.
Yes.
It's here. And I started it, so I feel like it's my fault.
Okay, well, we can both take accountability for that. But yes,
that was very nice of you to take accountability for me. That was a very PA move. I loved it.
It's an electronic card form as well, so it's really easy. Just go to, again, our website, fill out the mini survey, and we'll give you a call, have a chat, and we'll send you that link.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else you guys want to add to this conversation? Anything else you want to say to the peeps, the folks?
For me, I just want to add a couple things, is that we're in a time right now where this is important. A lot of folks are hurting, they're suffering, they can't pay bills, they can't put food on the table, they don't have health care. Things are rough, they're hard. Life is difficult, and so we are here to help. And what I mean by we is all of us, the PAU, LiUNA. We took on this task and this journey of, trying to help folks out, and it's a team effort, because I could try to do it. Without these folks, it's not possible. But I want folks to understand that what we're doing is for the greater good. And we just want to help. We want to make a difference, and don't be afraid to come out and sign a card, and to call, and with any questions, any concerns. Some folks are leery and about, hey, what is this union all about? What is this, right? Some people think, hey, why are they coming to us now? And it's not really us. It's an effort, and they were seeking this, and we just happened to partner up, and we're excited for the opportunity to be able to work with them, because we've never done anything like this. And so I just want to reassure folks that this is a good thing. We want to do the right thing, and we're going to keep working at it. We're not going to stop. We're not going away. We're not going anywhere.
Yeah, union work is such a powerful opportunity to build a legacy. When I think about my ability to be in the WGA, that comes from people across an entire century deciding to stand up for what they needed in the workplace, and that gave me health insurance, a pension, workplace protections, a lot of things that I would not have. And it's only because those people had the vision to imagine a world where I would one day be able to sit in this room and say, I am a union writer. And you guys are now sort of at the beginning of that journey, where you see a world where more is possible, and it's brave and cool to join into that.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's an honor to be a part of this, and also an honor to be a part of this journey with LiUNA as well. So, and with the entire film industry, and seeing all of the brave PAs and assistants who have signed cards and gotten their hands dirty to make this happen.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. PAs are the best. Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much. I'm really glad we had this conversation. It was very interesting, and as a former PA, I am really excited to see you guys doing this.
Solidarity.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
Hell yeah, man.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Third and Fairfax. You can listen and subscribe to Third and Fairfax on Spotify, Apple, and Libsyn, and watch us on the Writers Guild of America West's YouTube channel. If you like this episode or have a comment, email us at podcast@wga.org. Also check out writtenby.com, the Guild's online publication, for more on writer craft, career, and union life. And see you next time.